Hello everyone, my name is Ethan Ray, and today I'm going to be telling you all about piles and pile driving equipment. So in my presentation today, I'm going to give a little introduction on piles and pile driving equipment, and then the related equipment required for it, the cost, safety, the use in Texas, and then my references and practice questions. So here's a little introduction on piles and pile driving equipment. So the piles are a deep foundation method that involves driving or boring structural piles into the ground that support heavy structures like building bridges and other infrastructure around the world. There's a few different types of equipment that's required for pile driving. So there's a lot of machinery, including pile rigs, pile hammers, which are either diesel, hydraulic, or vibratory hammers, and then the guidance systems that are used alongside to drive the piles deep into the ground to create stable, deep foundations for structures. So for the equipment, the two main type of equipment used is hydraulic impact hammers, which these hammers use a heavy weight or ram to strike the top of the pile, which drive it into the soil. And then the vibratory hammers vibrate the pile, which reduces the soil friction and makes it easier for the pile to drive into the ground. So a little bit about the cost. So the hydraulic impact hammers typically cost around 100,000 to 300,000 new, depending on configuration and the size of impact hammer that is needed for that pile. And then the used options are typically around 75 to 200,000, depending on age and also on size and other variables that go along with that. The vibratory hammers are a little more expensive on the cost side, anywhere range from 350 to 800,000 brand new, depending on what type of energy class and the size and package what you need. So like for a mid-range structure, they would be 350K to 500,000, but for a larger pile, they're anywhere from 500 to 900,000 plus. And the used price often really depend on size and all the other factors that are included in that. Here's a little bit about safety and how to properly operate these equipment without hurting yourself. So there's a lot that goes into it. You got to do a pre-start check, inspect the hammer, power unit, rig, and everything to go along with it. And then you got to secure the pile in the correct place that you want to use it in. And then you got to establish communication between the people operating it and the crew around. And then after that, you begin driving at low energy to set pile. And then once the pile is set, you will increase the hammer energy gradually while monitoring the movement and your surroundings. If the pile is to shift or not do anything correctly during the process, you must stop it immediately. And then you shut it down safely using a power down, depressurize the hydraulics, and anything else you need to do. Some required safety equipment that goes along with that would be PPE, it's like a hard hat, steel-toed boots, gloves, and a high-vis vest. And then these things are really loud, so you have to wear double hearing protection, earplugs, and earmuffs in order not to cause permanent hearing damage to yourself. And then site safety is also a big deal, so you got to establish a zone around the pile drivers and ensure that no one is around when it's being operated. Keep everyone away that is not directly working on that pile driving to ensure there is no injuries to involved with that. And then also have someone prepared to do the emergency stop, first aid, and a rescue plan in case anything does go sideways. Now in Texas, pile drivers are used along the Gulf Coast and coastal areas because it's really soft clay, silt, and sands, so it's really hard to support structures if they're not properly supported underground. So the vibratory hammers are most often used in these places because the ground is so soft, so the pile goes down super easily. Like, for example, for the seawalls and dams like around Galveston and marine construction, these will all be used for that. And then also in Texas, oil and gas and other industrial projects are super big. So in order to get these heavy tanks, towers, and process units, it often requires deep pile foundations so that way they'll properly be stable for what they're being used for. So here's a little summary of everything that we've talked about today. There's a cost consideration between hydraulic and vibratory impact hammers between the $350 to $8,100 range or the $100 to $300,000 range, depending on your project size and what they are needed for. But sometimes renting can be more effective, but also ownership has its own benefits depending on the contractors. So, and then we went over the safety practice, so safe operations, PPE, daily inspections, everything around that. OSHA obviously has a manufacturing stress against hose failures, noise exposure, struck by hazards, anything like that. You need to follow the guidelines. Overall, pile driving equipment is a high cost, high risk, but indispensable tool in modern construction. Proper equipment choice, safety standards, and TxDOT compliance ensures safe, efficient, and durable foundation systems across Texas. Here's my references. And here are my practice questions, which are, which of the following is the primary purpose of pile driving equipment? What is the major safety concern when operating vibratory hammers? And why is pile driving equipment especially important in Texas construction? Thank you.